On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Oklahoma City now becomes one of 4 NBA teams ever, one of 3 NBA champs ever, to win at least 84 total regular season and postseason games.
It's just the beginning, Ben, and you just look at a team with, these guys at such a young age, and, Chet's got a team option, Ismail Dieng has a team option, Jalen Williams team option, Keyshawn Wallace team option. Hey, they're all coming back.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We are seeing unbelievable temperature surges over the past couple days. So I wanted to ask you this question to let the people know, how do we account for that in our handicapping? 2 good pitchers on the mound, but you look at a place like Wrigley Field, let's just say, 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, 90-plus degree temperatures. Is it almost like you say to yourself, you just have to fade the environment and not worry about the pitchers, because if we're hitting fly balls, they're going yard?
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
As we know, it's just we enter every year and it's, is this the Ravens' time? Is this Lamar Jackson's turn? Can they get past the Chiefs and all of these other, stalwarts of the AFC? But it's always really about Kansas City when we're talking Baltimore.
This potentially, Adam, as I send it back to you, potentially is a game changer in that you get a very talented quarter at a discount price.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 3, our third and final live right here on this Thursday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. Plenty of baseball breakdowns from the brilliant baseball mind of DRS coming your way here in this third and final hour. A ton of day baseball in the afternoon hours on Getaway Day Thursday before the weekend sets all across the bigs. And then later on in this third hour, more NBA draft analysis and insight, looking back on night number 1, round number 1, and maybe an early look at some of the best prospects available here entering night number 2 and round number 2 in Brooklyn. Rafael Barlowe, who has been here on the SportsGrid Network, a wonderful draft and talent evaluator, set to join us a little bit later on for his draft takeaways and reactions. And again, setting the stage for tonight's second round. DRS, we'll talk a little bit more draft to start off this third hour. Dive right into baseball after that. A lot to get to here in this final hour.
Absolutely, a lot to get to. And by the way, only one night game in Major League Baseball, 7 o'clock start in New York tonight between the Braves and the Mets, which is a key game. Every other game today is in the afternoon, so something to keep an eye out for. If hey, let me just relax in the afternoon and get into that baseball slate at night. Only one game, as we said, so get ready for that. But a lot of good hot topics coming up, which includes the NBA draft, which is only 50% down right now. Day number 2 is here. A lot of big names still on the board, and also the chances for movers and shakers and veteran players to be traded on day number 2. We'll get a lot more information and a lot more fun, which last year's draft I thought was terrible because I thought the players were terrible and the storylines were bad. This draft, really good storylines, a lot of fun and excitement last night. And I guarantee you that if you're just looking at, we always like the ratings market, have to be way better for last night than they were for a year prior on that first round, no doubt.
I would think so, DRS. Of course, last year's first 2 picks, Zachary Rizachet and Alex Sarr from France, didn't play college basketball. Not saying there's an issue with that, just maybe not as well known to the American. What did you say? Did you say there is an issue with that?
You're saying there's an issue. Just say there was an issue with that last year. Cooper Flagg won. You get the boy Dylan Harper rolling out there, NBA royalty. You got VJ Edgecombe bringing the Bahamas in the flow. Who doesn't like Bimini Bahamas, man? Come on now. Living it.
Now, I was just saying that those guys, much more well-known to the American public because of what they did collegiately. First 8 picks, DRS, of the 2025 NBA draft. all freshmen technically playing their only year of collegiate hoops. And they just went 1 through 8, culminating with Yegor Dimon at 8th overall for the Brooklyn Nets. At number 5, though, that's where things got a little bit spicy, perhaps a little bit chaotic even early on in the 2025 NBA draft. We know Ace Bailey has the talent of being a top 5, heck, even top 3 pick in the NBA draft. But given his pre-draft process, we weren't sure exactly where that stock might slide. It really didn't. It ends up maybe in an unexpected place, that being Salt Lake City. The Utah Jazz using that 5th overall selection on Ace Bailey. So the question now, in Bailey's early start of his NBA career, will that be in Utah, or might the summer hold something else? The question to all of you, and Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, will Ace Bailey play a single game for the Utah Jazz? Yes or no? Those are the 2 options. Nearly 63% of the public, DRS, a good majority of the public saying yes, Ace Bailey is going to play for the Utah Jazz in his rookie campaign. Some context necessary if you are not all that familiar with how Ace Bailey conducted his draft process. He did not really interview, or at least did not have any pre-draft workouts with any teams around the NBA. Very selective about his criteria. In fact, there were reports as early as Monday, or as recently as Monday, I should say, that the Utah Jazz offered up a pre-draft visit to Ace Bailey that he did end up declining. Ace Bailey himself saying he had, quote, no idea, end quote, that Danny Ainge and Austin Ainge and the Utah Jazz would select him in the 2025 NBA draft. That, of course, the context for why we asked the question, will a guy just drafted by an NBA team play for said NBA team? Again, DRS, 63% of the public saying yes. It's the way I voted as well. Which way did you go in this Fade the Public poll?
Yes, he is going to play a game here because you've already would have seen, like, I'm sure he told them, don't draft us. Yeah, but when you draft it, it's sort of like a come to a moment where it's like, all right, let's make the best of this here. Let's play well. And maybe in a couple of years, we'll get you out of there. You play a rookie, or heck, maybe you love it in Utah and they build a team around you and you want to stay for your entire career in that organization. But it's an interesting power move where people don't really back out of commitments here because you would have saw it right away. Like, you won't have been the ultimate disrespect. Ace Bailey drafted to the Utah Jazz, walks up on stage, doesn't pick up the hat, unhappy, shakes the commissioner's hand, goes and does interviews saying, like, I told them not to draft me, and they drafted me. What do you want me to do? Like, oh, we got a big issue now. But it seems like he was in good spirits, even if some of his answers were convoluted on whether or not he actually likes the fact that Utah drafted him. It is a big night for the kid. Welcome into the NBA family. But for me to say he's not going to play another game for Utah, you would have heard those moments where we told the Jazz not to draft us. Like, we're immediately going to look for an overseas partner for him to play, or they need to trade him. He will never set foot in Utah. You'd have already had that statement come out of there. So Ace Bailey, the question of what we asked was, of course, I voted yes with the 63%. Will he play a single game for the Utah Jazz? A better question, probably more evenly, would be like, does he finish his rookie contract with the Jazz? Which means he played really well. They signed him to a big contract extension. Or, hey, after year 2, we told you we don't like this. He doesn't really think it's working out. We don't like the fit here. Can you move us and see where it goes from here? That's probably a better question. But he is going to play a game for the Utah Jazz.
Completely agree, DRS, and I think that is pretty well summed up. Again, it's the conjecture and the conversation kind of pre-draft, and I know it's only been about 12 hours since the draft came to a close, fewer than that even last night. But when Ace Bailey went, a little bit more than 12 hours that he is now a member of this Jazz franchise, we probably would have heard something about, hey, he is really pissed off. He hasn't spoken to Danny Ainge. He is already trying to demand his way out. I think Ace Bailey's a really good kid. He has said it numerous times. All he wants to do is hoop. Do I agree with the way he conducted his pre-draft process? Not necessarily. You got to play the game, but it did end up still in a top 5 selection and millions of dollars headed his way to start off his NBA career. It is also not like DRS Ace Bailey visited 7 NBA teams and declined 2 interviews, and one of them happened to be the Utah Jazz. He didn't go anywhere. He wasn't in Philadelphia. He wasn't in Charlotte. There were rumors prior to the draft beginning last night. He had a secret workout with the Washington Wizards, and Bailey was a minus 155 favorite to be that 6th overall pick headed to D.C. So it's not like he spurned a couple of teams, but then was infatuated with others. I guess by reports, he had a list of preferred destinations, and Utah was not on it. But ultimately, the Jazz make the move. You can call it bold. I'm not so sure it was. Ace Bailey is going to play his rookie season with the Jazz. And frankly, DRS, he goes to a scenario where Utah had the worst record in the NBA last year, 17-65. He's going to have a lot of free will to hoist a ton of shots, which is what Ace loves to do and does better than most.
Yeah, and again, he is in a good spot for that, but it's just in the Utah. Like, Utah's not really a destination for NBA players where they're dying to get there. I can't even remember the biggest free agent signing Utah's ever had. Like, we know the Karl Malone, John Stockton years, but after that, has there ever been a superstar athlete like, yes, Utah's the place that I want to be? He'll get his shots up, but the draft is still taking place right now. Is there a chance, Ben, 24, 48 hours later, we start to get the leaks from the Bailey crew that goes, we don't know if we want to show up now?
Fair. Draft not completely in the books yet. MLB breakdowns next.
Yep.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Thursday is normally getaway day in Major League Baseball. Teams heading off to their weekend destination. So if you are on the diamond and do not have the day off, often you are playing earlier rather than later. We've got a 9-game slate on this Thursday around MLB, where 8 of the 9 in the afternoon hours in their respective location. The only game in the evening hours, primetime baseball up in Queens under the lights. It's the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves in the fourth and final game of their midweek set. But DRS, first we go to Houston, where so far this week we have seen absolute pitchers' duels between the Astros and the Phillies. Two teams still in front in their respective divisions. Houston extending the lead in the American League West. The Philadelphia Phillies clinging on to a half-game advantage over the New York Mets. It is the third game of this set where Houston, DRS, has won the first two without allowing Philadelphia to register a single run. Framber Valdez beat the Phils on Tuesday, 1-0, despite a good outing from Ranger Suarez. And yesterday, the Astros get the better ever so slightly of Zach Wheeler, winning 2-0. Tonight, well, Philadelphia has to face MLB's leader in ERA in Hunter Brown, who is posting a 1.88 ERA right now. On the other side for the Fightins, it's Christopher Sanchez. Minus 136, that number, DRS, in favor of the Stros. 2 p.m. Eastern time, that scheduled first pitch. And pay attention to that total. 7 is what it's showing. 6.5 is the live number currently on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Will it be another pitcher's duel today in H-Town?
Yeah, there's no way we're getting 7 runs. I mean, let's be honest here. The Philadelphia Phillies, like a getaway day, they might as well just get out of town at this point right now. Now, the interesting thing is we told you so many times, the Phillies will struggle with quality left-handed pitchers. They couldn't touch the last 2 left-handed pitchers on the mound for the Houston Astros. Now, Hunter Brown might be the best overall, even though I do still get that slight nod to Framber Valdez, but at least he's a right-handed pitcher. But having said that, his last 30 days and around 30 innings pitched, man, a 1.153 ERA and an xFIP number of 2.87. The Phillies do hit right-handed pitchers much better, but this is a quality right-handed pitcher. And then on the other side, you say, all right, well, Houston's bats, they're okay. They actually hit left-handed pitching really well. They couldn't touch Ranger Suarez outside of 1 solo home run in the 8th inning 2 nights ago, and Sanchez has very good numbers. So again, today, I look at these 2 rosters and say, the better roster is Houston. They'll probably wear down the Philadelphia Phillies. This game will not get over 7 runs, because yesterday I thought Zach Wheeler would give you a good performance. They gave up 1 earned run, and they lost the game. You tell me any pitcher gives up 1 earned run, I'm going to bet that team every single time, every single night. But the Phillies are in an offensive funk against a good pitcher today. They're not scoring that many runs. The Astros probably eke out a couple runs to beat the Phillies once again today. But if we're looking and saying, what's the better wager? How do we get like 8 runs in this game? I just don't see it. 2-1 sounds like another final score today, or at least those 2 runs come from the Houston Astros. I don't think the Phillies win today. I don't.
Houston hanging at home this weekend. They will host the Chicago Cubs, another divisional frontrunner. The Cubbies hammering the Cardinals yesterday, 8-0. We'll talk about the fourth and final game of that midweek set in just a moment. Again, the Phils only a half game in front of the New York Mets in the NL East. The Astros, DRS, what a month of June it has been in H-Town. 31-27 at the end of May. Started to turn things around in winning fashion from the middle portion of May through the end of that month. But they are 16-6, the Stros, in the month of June. A 12-1 price to win the World Series. Third best around MLB, 6th best around MLB. Third best for a team hailing from the American League. And again, Hunter Brown, that 1.88 ERA after Paul Skeens got roughed up ever so slightly yesterday. Now the best in all of Major League Baseball. The ending of a 4-game set and our only game in the evening hours tonight in Major League Baseball. It's Griffin Canning in the New York Mets, Grant Holmes in the Atlanta Braves on the other side. Minus 112, the ever so slightly favored number backing New York with a total of 8.5. Donnie, it's still supposed to be warm tonight here in the greater New York City area. Not nearly as hot and humid as the record-setting days earlier this week. We've seen some offense in the last 2 games at Citi Field. What do we see here in the fourth and final between Atlanta and New York?
It's certainly a fun handicap to go through, because if you take a look at Grant Holmes, his last 30 days here, basically he's number 2 pitcher on the card today. 26 1/3 innings pitched, a 3.76 ERA, which isn't great, but that xFIP number is 2.76. That's spectacular. If we take a look at some non-analytical numbers and say, okay, his last 51 at-bats, how about the ISO power numbers against? 209 to lefties. That's high. How about the weighted on base percentage? That's 370. That's high. Decent K rates there, but he has really handled right-handed batters. But if we look at that Mets lineup, 1 through 6 tonight, Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, Alonso, McNeil, and Vientos, all high ISO power numbers and weighted on base percentages against right-handed pitching. The same thing we looked at yesterday. It worked out in spades there for New York as they plated 7 runs. Here's the interesting part about the handicap, because forget about the pitcher on the opposite side in Griffin Canning. Let's just take a look at Grant Holmes, because theoretically, he's a better pitcher than Canning is, at least the XFIP, and by a decent margin here. But if we're looking at the season, right, you want to look at these splits. At home, in 2025, how about an XFIP number for Grant Holmes at 2.73? Spectacular. How about on the road this year? 4.87, just about doubles it here. He's much more comfortable at home than on the road. But if you want to really get technical in some of these analytical splits and where you would attack here, away to lefties for Grant Holmes as a right-handed pitcher, that xFIP number is a 5.40. So my attack point, once again, will be the left-handed batters in lineup and how many you can stack through. Because the Mets are looking at Lindor as a switch hitter, that's a lefty. Nimmo, that's a lefty. Soto, that's a lefty. McNeil, that's a lefty. Beatty, that's a lefty. And Mauricio is a switch hitter. That's 6 out of the 9 batters tonight, Ben, we're looking at from the left side, which is really where Grant Holmes struggles on the road particularly and on the season itself. So for me, maybe a sneaky team total on the Mets against a good pitcher that's coming in around 4.5 at a plus 100 number here on that team total is my direction I like to go. I'm not trusting Griffin Canning all that much, but I do think the Mets once again have a solid night on the mound against a pitcher that most people think might be able to shut down the Mets lineup, but just reading on a fun handicap on the road against lefties, that's his struggles. You got some good lefties with some good numbers tonight for the New York Mets.
DRS, the New York Mets trying to win this 4th and final game to split the 4-game set against the Braves. Of course, they were swept in Atlanta last week. Our only night game of this Thursday slate. The Mets have to take a small road trip to Pittsburgh tomorrow. Atlanta returns home to host Philadelphia over the weekend. Just know that. More plays around MLB next.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Was the first time, I think, in Dodgers history that the ballpark was full in the first inning. Everybody was there to see Shohei Ohtani throw his first pitch as a Dodger, and I had mixed emotions about this for a few reasons. Number one, it was a reminder of, wow, this is so crazy, right? You're watching him hit 98, 99, even 100 on the radar gun going, this guy's not human. Nobody should be able to be this good of a hitter and this good of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
As we know, it's just we enter every year and it's, is this the Ravens' time? Is this Lamar Jackson's turn? Can they get past the Chiefs and all of these other, stalwarts of the AFC? But it's always really about Kansas City when we're talking Baltimore.
This potentially, Adam, as I send it back to you, potentially is a game changer in that you get a very talented quarter at a discount price.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Oklahoma City now becomes one of 4 NBA teams ever, one of 3 NBA champs ever, to win at least 84 total regular season and postseason games.
It's just the beginning, Ben, and you just look at a team with, these guys at such a young age, and, Chet's got a team option, Ismael Dieng has a team option, Jalen Williams team option, Keyshawn Wallace team option. Hey, Ben, they're all coming back.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So the Mets and the Braves ending out a divisional rivalry this week in a 4-game midweek set in New York. Now we head to St. Louis, where under the arch, we end out a 4-game set in a divisional rivalry as well. First meeting this year between the Cardinals and the Cubbies. St. Louis took the first 2. The Cubs respond yesterday behind some power, including Kyle Tucker and Ian Happ hitting home runs. Matthew Boyd, sensational on the bump. The Cubbies blanking the Redbirds to win their first game of this set 8-zip, and now looking for a 4-game split. And DRS, a great sign for Chicago with that 2.5-game lead atop the National League Central to see their starter back on the mound today. Shota Imanaga set to make his first start since the beginning of May, returning off the IL. And Chicago placed as the road favorite under the arch, -136. The over-under stands at 9. What can we anticipate out of Shota Imanaga's first start in nearly 2 months?
That's always the tough part about it, right? How long is it going to go? Does he have a short leash? Is it 5 innings? Is it 65 pitches, 75 pitches? Those are always the tough things. And also just the adrenaline that you get being back in Major League Baseball. Having said that, if you're just looking to fade these pitchers in this environment, I can't deny that. It's 92 degrees at first pitch in the middle of the afternoon today in St. Louis with 7 to 8 mile-an-hour winds blowing out to dead center field. It's perfect hitting conditions. But we don't have a perfect requirement here on these pitchers. Just told you, like, Imanaga is a name, right? And he has a background where he can be a very dominant pitcher. You might get 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run out of him today, but I don't know. So it's hard to sort of fall back and say that's exactly the way I want to go. And he's going to give up runs just because he's coming back and isn't used to pitching in Major League Baseball, if you will. If you take a look at Palante on the mound today, this is the interesting one, which sometimes makes it tough to fight through as well. His last 30 days, 26 1/3 innings pitched. His ERA is over 5. Fade material right away. But his xFIP number is a 2.96, so getting just a little bit unlucky. And also understand this, when you deal with the heat and the humidity, what do you want to be as a pitcher, Ben? You want to be a ground ball pitcher. You take a look at, Palante, 69% in the last month have been ground balls. That usually limits the damage on extra base hits. It can hold you down because we like that Chicago Cubs lineup against right-handed pitching over the past month. Happ, Tucker, Suzuki, Armstrong, and Bush, all incredibly high numbers with a chance to do damage. But today, for me, it's almost like a past game. It's like, boy, it's a shame to waste that type of weather, but I don't want to fade Imanaga, and I don't want to back Imanaga. And Palante's a pretty good pitcher, which means you might lean yourself to an under, then go, hey, this game ended up 7-4 because everybody's hitting home runs because of how great that hitting environment is. It's a stay-away game for me. I wish it was different where you had 2 pitchers you can really club onto, but not in this one today for me, Ben.
5 starts this year, DRS, for Shota Imanaga in his second in the bigs. Of course, a sensational rookie campaign, first year at Wrigley last year. He is 3-2 with a 2.82 ERA. In 2 starts, he has given up 5 earned in both, a total of 10. In the 6 others, he has not allowed more than 2 earned runs, and in total, he has only allowed 4. So, Shota Imanaga, the ace of this Cubby staff, is going to be big. Because, Donnie, that was one of our questions, of course, about Chicago and their overall outlook of being a true contender. You lose Justin Steele early this year. Shota Imanaga at the time banged up and injured. If he can be back and the pitching can keep up, the Cubs have the offense, of course, to be a legitimate threat around the National League. But nobody in the NL better or has a shorter price than that of the LA Dodgers. The first team in the National League to get to 50 wins. Dodgers, Tigers, 50-31, tied for the best records in Major League Baseball. And the Dodgers this week playing out at Coors Field against Colorado, looking for the sweep. -290. The price on LA today in the series finale against Colorado. And Clayton Kershaw, year number 18 on the bump. Just quickly, DRS, before we break down the game, our producer extraordinaire, Joe Frizo, highlighting this in our commercial break. 2,992 strikeouts for Kersh right now. He will be, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, the 21st pitcher ever in Major League Baseball when he gets 8. He will be the 20th ever in Major League Baseball when he gets 8 more Ks to get to 3,000 career strikeouts. Might that come today at Coors against the Rocks?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to get, 8 strikeouts today? Probably a little bit high here. Maybe 5-10 years ago. Yeah, you'd be like, pencil him in for that. He's probably going to mow down this lineup. But always tougher pitching conditions to pitch in Colorado than, let's just say, in Chavez Ravine. Good hitting conditions out there today. 85 degrees. It's an afternoon game. Wind really blowing from right foul pole to left foul pole, so won't have an impact, which is a good sign. Now, Austin Gomber, this will be his 3rd start of the season. His first one against Atlanta, How about 5 innings pitched and no earned runs given up and 4 strikeouts? His next start, which was at home against Arizona, 4 2/3 innings pitched, 12 hits, 9 earned runs, 3 bombs, and not a single strikeout. The Dodgers should tee off today. Maybe look at a guy like Tommy Evans or Shohei Ohtani. Home run.
NBA draft reactions with Rafael Barlowe continue next.
I can't even believe I'm saying pitcher's battle and using the words Patrick Corbin. But can I tell you, Scott, he's a different guy. He's a totally different guy with the Rangers than we've seen.
I say this all the time. Don't worry about the first 5 innings. Don't even watch the first 5 innings in Texas Ranger games. Because for whatever reason, there's a ton of runs scored in the first 5, and then it just stops. It just stops.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course and okay, safe, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Round number 1, night number 1 of the 2025 NBA draft is in the books, but round number 2 still ahead on this Thursday evening over in Brooklyn, inside the Barclays Center, and across the river is where we find Rafael Barlowe on this Thursday morning, a man working hard and into the wee hours, I guess you could say, of this Thursday morning, covering the entirety of the opening round last night inside the Barclays Center. And in my humble opinion, one of the best to do it in terms of draft evaluation around the association. Rafael, as always, thanks for coming back to the SportsGrid Network. We appreciate your time bright and early here on this Thursday on the Early Line.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. It's always fun to talk basketball.
Excited to break down the opening night of the NBA draft with you. And Rafael, let's start with the top 5. The first 4 picks exactly as expected, at least according to the odds makers. And that, of course, started at the top. The Dallas Mavericks selecting Cooper Flagg, his coronation last night in Brooklyn. He was a minus 100,000 favorite, Rafael, to be that first overall selection. No surprises there. We'll get to the rest of the top 5, the remainder of the lottery in just a moment. But to focus in on Cooper Flagg, Rafael, basically we expected this guy to be the first overall pick whenever he declared for the draft by the time he was 14, 15 years old, hooping up in Maine. A ton of expectation on his lone year playing in college hoops at Duke. He matched, perhaps even surpassed those wild expectations, winning the Wooden Award for National Player of the Year, National Freshman of the Year as well. Rafael, do you expect that Cooper Flagg will match and maybe even exceed those same lofty expectations now in the NBA with the Mavs?
That's going to be tough, but nothing he does really surprises me. I mean, the player that I saw when he was 15 about 3 years ago, I thought he was going to be like the number one pick. I thought he was going to be really good, and he's exceeded those expectations. I didn't see him shooting 38% from three. So if he continues to progress and improve like he has over the last 18 months, I mean, he's going to be really special for Dallas.
Looking at Cooper Flagg also going number one as expected at that point, but the rest of the top five did go a little bit haywire once we got to five, which we'll get to in just a few moments. But for me, Rafael, the Philadelphia 76ers are my squad. VJ Edgecombe goes to the Sixers over Ace Bailey and other players. What did you think about the fit for VJ to the Philadelphia 76ers? And also, was it a mistake if they liked Ace Bailey just to call his bluff and still take Ace at number three?
Yeah, I think it was a mistake. I think Ace is the better prospect. He adds more positional size. I think he's a better shooter. I think he offers, good promise as a defender long term as far as being a weak side shot blocker. And then Philly's backcourt is small. So you have multiple small guards and Maxey and Jared McCain. And then you add in Edgecombe, who's not small, but I would have went with Ace Bailey there just because I think Ace, when it's all said and done, is going to be one of the best prospects in this class. It's not a knock on VJ Edgecombe, but I think that Philadelphia should have called his bluff and just taken who they thought was the best player on the board.
So let's talk about Ace Bailey because, Rafael, that was one of the storylines entering the opening round last night. The talent at times undeniable. For Arias Ace Bailey, the draft process and how he conducted himself, declining to work out for various NBA franchises, that kind of led to the conjecture around his draft stock sliding. It didn't slide all that far. The Jazz, even to the surprise of Ace, picked him at 5th overall. What do you make of the situation where Ace Bailey now finds himself in Utah and where he ultimately went 5th overall?
Well, one, I think he's the third best player in the draft. Two, I think it was pretty strategic on his camp to get him to a spot that they thought was a favorable place where he can play through mistakes and he can play freely. And to be honest, with Philadelphia, I don't know if it was the best fit for him short term, simply because when you look at the East, Boston is expected to be down. The Pacers now with Halliburton being out. The Bucks are going to miss Dame Lillard. If you're a Philadelphia 76ers fan, you're probably thinking, if we can just be healthy, we have a really good shot at coming out the East. And so with that being said, as a young 18-year-old, I don't know if that's the best position for him to get the type of minutes and the freedom that he needs. Not saying that he needs to take a bunch of shots, but I look at it like, all right, if he misses a couple defensive assignments, is he going to be able to stay on the floor? And I just think with Philadelphia, they're in win-now mode. Ace is only 18. He probably needs to go to a situation where he's allowed to play through mistakes. And even though Utah wasn't one of the teams that he was allegedly preferring, I think that situation in Utah is going to be favorable for him.
Certainly a fun first round, and no doubt about it, the first five, we look at that with Ace Bailey going 5th overall to Utah and where that fit comes in. But how about 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10? Like you have a couple bucket getters there in Trey Johnson and Jeremiah Fears. Denman goes to Brooklyn, which is where I'd like to start. You were in the building last night, home court advantage towards the Nets fans. Denman is picked. What was the announcement like? And also, do you agree with that pick to the Brooklyn Nets?
I was shocked, and I think the crowd was too. I mean, you heard some boos. I don't know who the crowd probably would have favored. Maybe Common Mollywops. I mean, there was a heavy Duke crowd there. But with that being said, I mean, I think it just depends on what you see in Yegor. It was like a tale of two seasons. Like the first 5 games, he looked like a top 5 pick. And then he kind of struggled a little bit after that. And then he had a strong finish in the NCAA tournament. But in my opinion, he's the best passer in the draft. He has excellent positional size. I've jokingly said that he'll be Cam Thomas's best friend because Cam Thomas likes to get him up. And he's never seen a shot he doesn't like. And Yegor, the knock on him is he's a little bit passive sometimes. And so if you're Cam Thomas and you love a pass first, pass second point guard that'll throw you those I don't want to, I guess, because of the climate we're in, I guess bombs is not the perfect word to use, but those late second grenades at the end of the shot clock.
if there were some boos last night inside the Barclays Center, when Yegor Dimon was selected 8th overall, it certainly was not Cam Thomas, probably the loudest cheer or applause wherever he was taken in the opening round of the NBA draft, because the floor vision for Dimon is not really what is at conversation here. I do want to focus quickly, Rafael, before we move on to the rest of the lottery, and some guys that you are incredibly high on, maybe even higher on than the rest of the public was entering last night. On Dylan Harper, 2nd overall pick, goes to San Antonio. A lot of young and promising talent, of course, for the Spurs. The generational talent of 2 summers ago, Victor Wembanyama wins Rookie of the Year. Last year, Stephon Castle wins Rookie of the Year as well after being selected in the top 5. Harper, now the 2nd overall pick, heads to this Spurs organization. How do you believe his game translates to this next level?
I think it's going to be an interesting fit, simply because I think Harper is best when he has the ball in his hands. And I don't know if San Antonio is going to give him the opportunity to really play with the ball. I mean, they just traded for De'Aaron Fox. It's easy to forget that Fox is a San Antonio Spur simply because he got hurt right after the trade deadline. And then Stephon Castle played his best ball when he was able to be like the lead ball handler for the Spurs. And then all 3 of those guys, well, at least Fox is a streaky shooter. Harper was a good shooter off the catch at Rutgers. But I have some concerns about how all 3 of them fit and who is going to be the one that has to sacrifice the most. I mean, Fox is an all-star. Castle was Rookie of the Year. And Harper probably has to come in thinking like, I'm the 2nd pick, so I should have the ball in my hands too. But I think San Antonio will make it work out.
It's going to be really interesting, right? With so much young promise there. Of course, Victor Wembanyama did not play following the All-Star break. San Antonio, even after the acquisition of De'Aaron Fox, who was banged up down the stretch, still finishing 14 games below 500 at 34 and 48. You would think entering year 3 for Wemby, this is the time to turn it on and be a playoff contender in the Western Conference. 17-1, the price on San Antonio to win the West. That's the 8th best number around that side of the league. Rafael Barlowe not going anywhere. We'll talk the rest of what we saw on night number 1 on the other side of the break.
We are seeing unbelievable temperature surges over the past couple of days. So I wanted to ask you this question to let the people know, like, how do we account for that in our handicapping? Like, 2 good pitchers on the mound, but you look at a place like Wrigley Field, let's just say, 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, 90-plus degree temperatures. Is it almost like you say to yourself, you just have to fade the environment and not worry about the pitchers, because if we're hitting fly balls, they're going yard?
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Their team total is 19.5 wins. I told you to go under, and it's by far the best bet I have recommended on this network in 4 years. They can't get out of their own way. And now Sloot is out for the year. Let's hope Sloot gets back, because I respect the hell out of Sloot, and I want her to go out on her own terms. Hopefully we'll have her back for the 26th season.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course than OKC, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The 2025 NBA Draft for a second consecutive year, a two-night event. Our continued reactions from night number 1 in Brooklyn ahead of round number 2 on this Thursday evening. And Rafael Barlowe continues to join us here on the early line. Rafael, as we welcomed you onto the show, I said, in my humble opinion, I think you're one of the best NBA draft and talent evaluators out there. So if you will, I would like to read a tweet from January 2nd, 2024. That's about 18 months ago, but January 2nd, 2024. And I want to hear if you know who said this. I think Yang Han Sun has a chance to be special. 18 years old, 7'1" with work on the block. I see some Alperen Şengün and Zach Edey in his game. He's got the Kevin McHale shoulder fakes in his arsenal, a soft touch around the rim, and he's tough. Again, that's January 2nd, 2024, about Yang Han Sun, who went 16th overall to the Portland Trailblazers. Rafael, do you know who shared that out on Twitter?
I did share that, but I'll be honest. I called him Hanson Yang in the tweet. So
fair enough. I did give you the benefit of the doubt of the proper pronunciation now. So yes.
Yeah. I just learned it last night at the draft, but I've always been a fan of his. And yeah, it's crazy that I was at the draft last night, and all of a sudden my phone was going off, and that tweet started. I guess it was making the waves on social media, but. Again, I'm a big fan of his game. I like what he brings to the table. And me and my brother jokingly call ourselves the Yang Gang, but we did not expect him to go at number 16.
By the way, if we are taking a look, we'll see the Rookie of the Year odds in just a few moments here. Obviously, Cooper Flagg is going to be the favorite. Give me your favorite pick of the first round here, and maybe it's just a fit selection for a team, and maybe a pick that was like, come on, man. That can't be the draft pick, can it?
I definitely like Ace Bailey to Utah. I like the fact that the Jazz are like, hey, we don't care about all the noise. You're the best player available. We're taking you. So I like that fit. I actually like Trey Johnson in Washington. I think he's going to come in and slide into Jordan Poole's spot, and he might be their leading scorer as a rookie. So those are the two picks that I really like. The one that I'm really confused about is Colin Murray Boyles at number 9 to Toronto. Toronto's a team that was, I think, 29th in the NBA in three-pointers made, and they draft a undersized 4-man that doesn't space the floor. But he's a guy that analytics loves, and it's like a divide between the analytics guys and the eye test guys, and it looks like analytics won.
Colin Murray Boyles, who spent 2 years in Columbia playing for South Carolina last year, averaged 16 and 8, 16 points, 8 boards. First guy to put up those kind of numbers for the Gamecocks in 4 decades. But I do hear the point there, Rafael, for sure. You were in Brooklyn last night in the heart of the Barclays Center. I do want to ask you about the Nets. We talked about Yegor Dimon, who went 8th overall. 19th overall, they take the guard from France in Nolan Traore. 22nd overall, they take the youngster from UNC in Drake Powell. And then back-to-back 26, 27, Ben Serif, the guard who plays professionally in Europe but is from Israel, and 27th overall after his only year in Ann Arbor, Danny Wolf. They go back-to-back. Rafael, a 2-part question. Are you surprised, first, that the Nets ended up using all 5 of their first-round selections? And then, regardless of that, second, I guess the immediate follow-up, what do you make? What kind of grade do you give the Nets draft class of those 5 picks in the opening round?
I am surprised. I spoke with an agent probably about 24 hours before the draft. Actually, maybe it was right after they made that trade to get the 5th pick. And he said, everything I'm hearing, they're going to keep all 5 of their picks. I said, I don't know. That doesn't make sense. And, he was right. They kept all 5 picks. Second reaction, honestly, New York City is a melting pot of different cultures from across the world. And the Brooklyn Nets represent New York City. You got Yegor Dimon's from Russia, Nolan Traore from France, Ben Serif is from Israel. Danny Wolf played for Israel at the U20s just 2 summers ago. So it just represents New York City as far as the melting pot of cultures. A lot of redundancy. I mean, I think Yegor's obviously a point guard. I think Nolan Traore is a point guard. I think he was probably the best pickup out of the 5 just because of where he was rated coming into the season. Struggled a little bit, and his stock kind of plummeted. But I think he's still the same guy that everyone was high on. He just got off to a slow start in France.
Rafael, let's take a look at that odds market here for NBA Rookie of the Year. Obviously, Cooper Flagg is a favorite. He's actually even a little bit higher than he was earlier this morning, from a minus 180 price to a minus 190 price. Ace Bailey, Trey Johnson, Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe. If this is Flagg, say, yeah, you know what? I think Flagg wins it. But if you had to have one pick today on who could win that NBA Rookie of the Year, who would be your opinion and why?
I would go with Ace Bailey. I would go Ace Bailey. I think that he's going to have the opportunity. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I think I would go with Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson's going to have the opportunity to have the ball in his hands. Ace is going to have to split touches with, as the roster is constructed now, Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen. So I would say Trey Johnson is going to be the guy that's going to get up the shots, and he probably has the best chance.
I like that look because you have those two guys now tied for the second best number in Ace Bailey and Trey Johnson. Bailey goes 5th to Utah. Johnson 6th overall to the Washington Wizards, both at plus 850. And although Cooper Flagg will have that expectation and Rafael goes to a far better team, or at least in a better situation in Dallas than either Ace in Utah or Trey in DC, there will be a lot of expectation on Cooper Flagg to play for a playoff-ready team in the Dallas Mavericks. Trey Johnson, by the way, last year, averaging nearly 20 points per game at Texas as a freshman, led the SEC in scoring, 6th ever freshman to lead the Southeastern Conference in points per game throughout a single college basketball season. All right, Rafael Barlowe is going to stick around for one final segment as we round out the show. On the other side of the break, we'll take an early look at night number 2, and then we'll let Rafael go take a nap because he was up till 4 a.m. grinding tape and finishing things out following night number 1. And this is where we let our lovely Donnie right side depart to get ready for the money line on the radio today. DRS, have a lovely time. I'll miss you tomorrow, my friend. Have a great weekend, huh?
Another day off for Ben Stevens. Love to be Ben Stevens around here, huh?
You had the chance to go on that anniversary trip. Rafael sticks around. Up next.
Work, baby, work.
On June 25th at 7:30 p.m., ditch the guesswork. Ben Stevens, Kevin Walsh, James Young, and Tom Vecchio have your NBA draft betting coverage pick by pick, bet by bet, all night long. We got all the insights and expert analysis because betting blind isn't a strategy. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. on June 25th, only on SportsGrid.
Oklahoma City now becomes one of 4 NBA teams ever, one of 3 NBA champs ever to win at least 84 total regular season and postseason games.
It's just the beginning, Ben, and you just look at a team with, these guys at such a young age, and, Chet's got a team option, Ismail Dieng has a team option, Jalen Williams team option, Keyshawn Wallace team option. Hey, Ben, they're all coming back.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
We are seeing unbelievable temperature surges over the past couple of days. So I wanted to ask you this question to let the people know, how do we account for that in our handicapping? 2 good pitchers on the mound, but you look at a place like Wrigley Field, let's just say, 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, 90-plus degree temperatures. Is it almost like you say to yourself, you just have to fade the environment and not worry about the pitchers because if we're hitting fly balls, they're going yard?
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
As we know, it's just we enter every year and it's, is this the Ravens' time? Is this Lamar Jackson's turn? Can they get past the Chiefs and all of these other, stalwarts of the AFC? But it's always really about Kansas City when we're talking Baltimore.
This potentially, Adam, as I send it back to you, potentially is a game changer in that you get a very talented quarter at a discount price.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA draft, now a 2-night event, so round number 2 inside the Barclays Center on its way tonight on this Thursday evening in Brooklyn, where Rafael Barlowe is right now. He will be there tonight covering everything from round number 2 as he was from round number 1 just a night ago. And Rafael, in the NBA, it's not quite the NFL, right, where there are 7 rounds to cipher through. And with only 30 teams, you're going to have some really good players make their way into that second round. Only 29 picks tonight. The Knicks have forfeited a draft pick based on tampering for Jalen Brunson in the offseason acquisition during free agency a few summers ago. Here's a couple of notable available draft prospects that we still have and have highlighted on the big board. Some very familiar and recognizable names from their time playing collegiately. Ryan Kalkbrenner, a record setter for Creighton and in the Big East. Maxime Reynaud, if you don't know who he is, one of the best bigs in the ACC, can shoot it from deep as well. Tyrese Proctor, who played at Duke. Eric Dixon, the nation's leading scorer at the D1 level last year for Villanova. And, of course, the SEC Player of the Year in Janai Broome. We'll start with this list of 5 prospects, Rafael. On that board, who do you think has the highest upside? And we'll hear their name called the earliest tonight in round 2.
I'm a little biased in a sense for Maxime Reynaud. I've been a big fan of his. He's a guy that I actually would have taken in the lottery. I mean, 20 points, 11 rebounds, was second in the ACC in scoring, first in rebounds, and only the second player over 7 foot to make over 63s in a season. So I think he's been hiding in plain sight. I would have taken him a lot higher than where he went. So to me, he's the best available on the board. And then there's Ryan Kalkbrenner. We're talking about a guy that I think teams are just, I think they're making a mistake in a sense. Is he being fairly judged because he has 165 games of college experience? There are guys that haven't been as productive as him. And he's also like the 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year. So we have a guy that has been in college for 5 years, 66% career shooter from the floor, incredible touch around the rim, and 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, and he's not a first-round pick. I think he's a guy that's going to end up sticking. Like, he may not be a first-rounder, but when we do a redraft in 5 years, we're going to say, man, why was Ryan Kalkbrenner not on the first round?
Rafael, I do very much agree with you. There are 2 guys in the history of Big East basketball, the prestigious history of that league, that have won 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards in the Big East. Ryan Kalkbrenner, the other, Patrick Ewing during his playing days at Georgetown. And Maxime Reynaud, he can shoot it. Maybe if he didn't play at Stanford, he would have been a first-round pick. I do believe a steal early on tonight in round number 2. The Minnesota Timberwolves on the clock, slated to have that 31st overall pick, the first of night number 2. Another name, Rafael, that some thought could be a first-round selection and did have a first-round price on many sports books, Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. Where do you think he might land here on night number 2?
He should be within the first 3 picks. I had a first-round grade on him. He shot 39% from the floor, averaged about 2.8 stocks per game. I love the fact that he's a guy that wasn't really highly touted in high school, played behind DJ Wagner and Aaron Bradshaw, and has just gotten better and better every year. And I think for him, he just has a lot of untapped potential. Again, I'm shocked that he didn't go in the first round, but he should be one of the first 3 names called tonight.
A10 stand up if Rasheer Fleming does, not maybe if, but when he hears his name tonight on night number 2. Rafael, finally, any prospects we haven't highlighted or hit yet that you think can make an impact in the NBA that will go tonight in the second round?
Actually, the guy that I think is going to stick is Ryan Nembhard from Gonzaga, led the nation in assists. A little bit on the smaller side, but I could see him having like a Trey Jones type career. Trey Jones was the 41st pick in 2020, and he's already played 5 years. I think that Ryan Nembhard could have a similar path. And when you go back and look at old draft classes, if a guy plays 5 years, that means he's brought first-round value. And I think Ryan Nembhard is going to be one of the guys that's selected in the second round that ends up sticking in the NBA.
And you're trying to find that value tonight. Maybe not an all-star or a superstar, but somebody that can certainly make an impact for a franchise and organization. Rafael Barlowe doing great work covering the NBA draft. He'll be there in Brooklyn again tonight. Rafael, as always, we appreciate the time, man. Thanks for being here, and try to catch some sleep before night number 2.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Best of luck to you, man. Thanks for being here. The early line returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.